Hi everyone, it's Amanda with Healthy House on the Block, and I'm here with another weekly video and tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness. This week we're going to be talking about heading back to school with your kids and how to really create some great habits and spaces in your home to give you a little buffer between toxins coming in and germs coming in. So unfortunately, here in Minnesota, we are nearing the end of our summer season and kids are getting ready to go back to school soon. And when my kids go back to school, we have a phrase, it's called back to school, back to sniffles, because never fails, our immune systems just get bogged down. We're around all kinds of germs in enclosed spaces. Never fails, someone always gets sick right after school starts. So how do we minimize that, and how to create a space at home that can really support their immune system? Kids are so different in terms of how their bodies detox things in comparison to adults. So kids are not just miniature adults. Their systems are undeveloped. Their systems are thinner than ours, and they don't detox toxins the same way. So when their systems are overwhelmed with toxins in general, their immune system is not going to function at a level that's as high as it could be. And so today we're going to talk about how to really reduce toxins when it comes to school. So things like putting your backpack in a certain spot every day, not bringing in these toxins from outside, and reducing things like fragrance and toxic cleaners. We're going to go through all of it. So this video is based on a blog post that I released this week. I have the blog post linked at the bottom of my video description. If you like to click on links and really read through things and jot down ideas or save things, that is where you want to go. Otherwise, we are going to get started and go through some slides on how to have your healthiest school year yet. So school is just about here once again, and I don't know about you, but I'm wondering where my summer went. With my kids growing and changing by the minute, each summer has felt so different from the one before. And this school year will be no exception to this feeling either, with a 5th grader, a 2nd grader, and a 2-year-old starting an early education program. This will be a very different year for us school-wise. And it's a great time to really implement some healthy habits for kids. So with each year, there's always a bit of adjusting that happens when school is back in session. Everything from adjusting our sleep schedules to really being proactive with nutrition and our immune system. We just tend to be more relaxed in the summer, and we just kind of go with the flow more. But back to school can mean back to sniffles too, and having a healthy habit in place over the past few years, they've really helped us to keep viruses at bay. So last year I shared that it was one of our healthiest winters yet in terms of illness, and I chalk it up to a few proactive measures that we took as a family. So first and foremost is a regular bedtime and quality sleep. But we also include things like reducing toxins at home to eliminate body burden and keep our immune system in top-notch shape. So time away from home also means time away from our habits, where we eat mostly nutritious foods, wash our hands, and use very few chemicals. This can also be hard on the immune system as it puts added stress on the body. Our bodies can't always differentiate between different types of stressors, and it sees chemicals as something that it needs to fight off. So this is all the more reason to take extra care at home and reduce toxins where you can and put in place healthy habits. So I'm so excited to have, more time to devote to my work. I certainly miss my kids when they're not here, but they're school lovers at heart and cannot wait to get back in the classroom, which makes our transition a little bit easier. But I'm going to share with you some of the ways that we're working on keeping our home healthy for the school year. So one of my favorite ideas is going to start with the backpack station. So if you have found a backpack that you think can truly endure more than 1 year of school, please let me know. It never fails. Every year we end up with a new backpack, and when it comes in, my kids know that there are a few non-negotiable rules about backpacks. I know how gross backpacks can get when they're traveling to and from school every day. They sit on the floor at school, on the bus, and sometimes house some pretty gross, soggy things. So this is the exact reason that we have a spot for backpacks to go right away when they come inside. Backpacks don't get set on the countertops in the kitchen. They don't get brought into bedrooms. We try to keep them in our little entry hallway on a hook. I also open them up and let them dry out when they get damp from snow pants and other wet things. If these little healthy habits for your kids just become routine throughout the school year, it makes it a lot easier. So wet backpacks can breed bacteria, which we don't want in our house, and we don't want our kids to carry around all day. We also don't want to introduce that to our home. So you don't have to introduce viruses to your home unnecessarily by leaving the backpack on various surfaces. Having just a simple set of hooks by your door or a cubby that it can go into is a perfect solution to keeping them out of living spaces at home. We also use the bottom of a console table where they can easily just set them away and grab them the next morning. We also do shoe trays. So I hope I really do not sound like a broken record here, but keeping shoes at the door and out of your house is a huge preventative measure you can take. Shoes that walk through school all day, no doubt will have lots of bacteria and viruses on them. Elementary school bathrooms are terrifying places for us moms. But in addition to that, schools are cleaned with chemicals, and grass around schools may be treated with mild forms of pesticides. So these are all things that end up attaching themselves to the bottom of your kids' shoes and eventually make their way into your home. But by implementing a no shoe policy as a healthy habit for kids, you can ensure that this won't get tracked inside. By keeping shoes on a rug or a tray in a particular area, you can avoid bringing these things in to infiltrate your carpets, rugs, and air. This is also a helpful reminder to guests that you leave your shoes off when you're in your home, and they should too. They tend to follow suit if they see your shoes by the door. It's nice not constantly having to ask someone to remove their shoes. So having a way to remind them without telling them is a great idea. I don't know if your kids are like mine, but my girls are not all too fond of the school lunches. I think mostly because the fruits and vegetables just aren't the same as the fresh ones we pack from home. And to be honest, I think that I'd much prefer them to eat lunch from home where I know exactly what they're putting in their bodies. But it's not just about the food anymore. We know that plastic, and especially soft, flimsy, or moldable plastic, can be particularly bad. So these plastics have more phthalates and more chemicals than extremely hard plastics. And what's worse is that these plastics, like lunch bags or plastic containers, are sitting right on our food. If the food gets warm at all, or it's a greasier food, it quickly absorbs these toxins, even if they are BPA-free containers. Water bottles are another area where you can make a healthy choice. Using a glass or metal water bottle as opposed to a plastic one is always a healthier option. So opt for using metal or glass containers for food, as well as beeswax wraps for home lunches and snacks. And another added bonus is you'll actually save money by reusing these containers instead of buying up boxes and boxes of plastic bags. So this concept I used at home when my oldest daughter was in preschool, but still taking naps. If you have kids in preschool, this is definitely going to resonate with you, I'm sure of it. So beds had always been for sleeping, and we really did our best not to allow too much play on beds or in beds during the day. And this was mostly because we didn't want them to play in bed at night, or instead of going to sleep at nap time, just playing. But after speaking with our pediatrician about my daughter's allergies, we added another reason. Our pediatrician told us to help with seasonal allergies, we should make sure to rinse off before going to bed after playing outside. And I thought about this. I'm like thinking this is a great idea, especially in the spring and fall when the pollen counts are higher. But then it got me to thinking about those days when she came home from preschool, where she played on the floor, rolled around in the large muscle room, and then would come home and go to nap afterwards. And I realized she was introducing a lot of bacteria, dust, and toxins into her sleeping area. And that's when we decided to let her change outfits when she came home from school. Now that she's older, we don't really do this, but if you think about what your kiddos' clothes come into contact with at school, you might think about implementing this idea at your house, especially if they come home and lay in bed when they're done with school. The idea of like a house coat or house clothing is not that new of an idea either. It's been used for quite some time by children and adults, and it's just another way to create a healthy habit for kids that can last a long time. So getting a good night's sleep is absolutely key when it comes to preventing illness and unneeded stress. But what's more than just the hours of sleep a child gets is the quality of sleep they get. Interrupted sleep will leave anyone groggy and not feeling their best. It will also lower their brain function and immune system function as well. So that being said, there are so many ways that you can promote a healthy and restful sleep for your kids. So first, keep electronics out of the room completely. Electronics have electromagnetic fields that surround them, which our bodies see as stressors. So when this happens, the cortisol levels rise and sleep becomes very difficult. And when this happens, kids don't get a restful night. So in addition to this, the color of the blue screen is confusing to our bodies as it reduces the production of melatonin in the body. With the same thought, radios, alarm clocks, sound machines, monitors, they should be kept as far away from the bed as possible. These also produce EMFs and interrupt sleep and make it difficult to get back to sleep at all. Second, keep dust and dust mites at bay with a few simple habits. So if your child has stuffed animals, you'll want to get in the habit of washing them. If you can't wash them, you can also put them just in the dryer on the hottest setting, or you can even do the freezer. You can wet dust on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. It's extremely beneficial to reducing dust. And don't forget those hard-to-reach places like ceiling fans and dustboard trim. And then finally, avoid synthetic fabrics that have chemicals woven in or deep colors or scents or say wrinkle-free. Opt for 100% natural cotton or linen sets for sheets as well as an organic comforter. It will help your child's body by reducing the amount of chemical burden it is under at night. And when the body is resting and recovering from the day, it's important to avoid the use of a lot of chemicals and synthetic materials that our bodies see as stressors. So in addition to healthy habits for kids, we turn to essential oils just to help some emotional well-being. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of essential oils and that we use them every single day in our daily routine. And I often talk about how I love replacing chemical products in my home with these and using them for an immune system boost. What I don't talk about as much is using them for emotional support. So essential oils have been used for thousands of years for both medicinal purposes and to improve the quality of life. I'm linking you to some studies in this week's blog post that really point this out and support this fact. At home, we use both rollers with essential oils in it, as well as our diffuser to help promote a sense of calm in the midst of like some big feelings or feelings of anxiety. Many times first thing in the morning, I want to really set the tone for the day. And if you have kids, you know that the struggle is real when it comes to getting out the door on time, but in a calm manner. So this is why I use some of my favorite essential oils to create an uplifting and calming blend right away when we start our morning. Being able to reduce feelings of stress and anxiety is such a beneficial way to support emotional wellness. We know that the body produces large amounts of cortisol when it's under constant stress, which leads to more illness, less restful sleep, and other physical repercussions. So I know that I'm willing to do so much to keep my kids healthy. And if at the same time I implement some healthy habits for my kids at home, I consider it a win-win. I'd love to hear if you've had some pretty solid school years in the past where you've really stayed healthy due to some of the healthy habits that you've implemented at home. You can leave a comment here. I'd really be curious to hear about them. So whether your kids are headed back to school right away or your kids don't go back until September, I hope that this really is your healthiest school year yet. And I hope that these things that are free, easy little habits that you can do at home will really help improve the quality of your home and the health of your kids. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out, leave a comment. Otherwise, I will be back here next week with another healthy house tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness.